see underneath, this is the back of the burr carrier, right? This is the chute. This is behind where the burr slips in, and a Mazda Mini E-burr. I'm just going to try it to see. I'm just going to brush the rim. Obviously, when you're putting new burrs in, you'll clean all this really well. But I'm just going to drop the Mazda burrs in and see if they will fit. It's a very close tolerance on the burrs it was supplied with, and the Mazda burr tolerance, yeah, it's actually the Mazda burr is this is the Mini E-burr, fractionally looser, but that's to allow for the drift when you tighten the holes up. So obviously a Mazda Mini E-burr would work. Not quite as tight a fit, as I say, as the original burr, which is made by Mill, I believe, and that's a little bit of a snug fit. Again, not totally snug, because you need to have a bit of clearance for when the screws centre out the burr. But they're definitely exactly the same fitment as a Mazda burr, and this is the tin burr set. And again, the tin burr set, interestingly, has pretty much exactly the same clearance as the genuine Mazda Mini E-burr, but still allowing the flow. So I reckon you can use any 64mm burr from Mazda or from Mill. So that's all good, gives you a wide choice of burrs. So I'm going to pop these tin burrs in now and just see how we get on. So make sure it's very clean. Now the burrs, although there's the retaining ring there, they actually fit onto these three platforms. And these are slightly raised. So if you were shimming a burr, I don't really advise you to do it. It's very difficult to do. Doesn't make as much benefit as you think, and normally isn't required, but you would shim just a small piece underneath these points. There's nowhere else to shim. The burr doesn't sit flat in there. So you pop your burr in, line up the holes, and what I'm going to do next is put all the screws in loose. You're going to laugh, but by actually placing, I use a post-it note. You could use steel shims if you had them, old feeler gauges, but I use post-it notes, stick them in. Everything's the same tightness now. I know that burr's pretty much central as a clamp. That's pretty good to the carrier. Whether the carrier's right or not, nobody knows, but at least the burr is central to the carrier, and one would hope the machining of the carrier has been done properly. Okay, I'm just going to show you quickly what I would do on the top burr, because you really don't want to damage your grinder. I can't get the camera much closer to it. However, what I'm going to do, don't jam a chopstick or a wooden thing down the hole at the front, right, to try and jam up this sweep arm. If you do that, you're going to damage the membrane enormously. There's a membrane in there, so don't do that. And you shouldn't need to. You've got enough torque. If you get the base of, say, a wooden dowel or chopstick on the end of one of the sweep arms. Let me just clean this up for you. I've just done two of them. When I'm trying to break the lock, get that sweep arm in, nicely wedged. I don't know if you can see. I get my hand right around the screwdriver and I bear down on it, and there, it's just felt it go. Yep. And that's it now. They'll all actually start to come out, probably with just a little bit more than finger pressure. I go around in a circle, loosening each one. Luckily they haven't put these in with thread locker, which is a good thing. I don't have my glasses on, so I'm doing it bit by feel. So now they're all probably loose enough now for me to go around and actually just hold it by hand. Let's just have a look inside there, and there is the inside of the chamber. We're going to ease that burr off, possibly in quite tight, especially there'll be coffee all around the gaps and everything. I just used a couple of smooth steel objects, nothing sharp. Get it in there and just lever it about, and you'll find either side of the burr, not on the sweep arms, that burr will come loose. And once it's loose, you can pop it out and suck out. Okay, so we've got it nice and clean in there. Get the burr carriers nice and clean. Get just everything nice and clean, and make sure wherever the burr's going to sit, It's definitely clean. Screw holes empty and clean as well. So we're now ready to fit the bottom burr. Really, this central spindle is what's holding that square, and it's a pretty tight fit on this. Now again, I'm probably teaching the engineers among you to suck eggs, but when you're putting these screws in, yeah, finger tight, and just go round. What I'm doing is rotating the bottom burr, doing each one in turn. Just get it finger tight. Okay, and then gradually increase the torque. I need to get close. Nut, and again we're going to have to jam up gently against the sweep arm as we torque the burr up. So I'm going to jam up against this sweep arm. The burrs in the grinder are now ready to go. Basically we've got an O-ring here I've cleaned up. I'll probably put a smear of molly coat on that. It's all clean now, so a little smear of molly coat doesn't hurt. I'm just going to do that, then of course put the grinder together and do a little test. I've greased the O-ring with molly coat. I've popped the carrier on. As you can see, there's a white mark there because that's the orientation of the carrier that I found gave the best alignment when I was reaching the touching point, gave a fairly nice glide. Now it could be carrier specific, it could have been just those burrs, so I thought I'd replace it that position first, bring the burrs together with the adjuster ring, spin it with my fingers and see if it feels good. Okay, I've got it screwed down, and the new burrs, obviously a different thickness, have changed the 0 point entirely. I mean, I'm at 15, the old 0 point with the old burrs was down at 0, so this is the new 0 point. Unfortunately, I don't think you can unstick the ring and the ring doesn't move, but I don't care, it doesn't bother me, as long as I know what number is 0. Now, if I turn it here, I can feel a touch with my fingers, and then okay, I tried shimming the burrs. It didn't really improve it, probably made it worse. So I've just accepted the burrs at the touching point they are. It's pretty good. I marked the new touching point with a white dot because the burrs are obviously much thicker. I guess if they made them with titanium nitride burrs, they'd probably stick the ring on afterwards when they find the touching point. But I don't have that luxury. I know about 10 marks off the touching point was my point for the espresso pour, something like that, 9 or 10 marks. So I'm just going to set the grinder roughly there, assume the gap between the burrs will be consistent. I've got some rubbish beans that I've buggered up. I'm just going to run a bit of those through the grinder just to knock the rough edges off the burrs. I'm only going to put a few 100 grams through just to smooth them off a bit, and then I'm just going to try pulling a shot and see what it's like. Of course they won't be fully bedded in, but at least I'll get the really rough edges off them.